And they're not being honest with Putin's speeches. You know, I go watch his speeches unedited on YouTube channels, and I see what he's saying. And he's logical. You know, he did a 3-hour Q&A. How long could Biden do a Q&A for? 5 seconds?
Without falling asleep?
Yeah, so it's like, you know, it's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we try to play a lot of that context on our show, because people just don't see it in the Western media.
Right.
They will tell you what Putin said, but they will never show you what he actually said. So we try to, as much as we can, show that on our show. When you see what's happening, because it sounds like it's continuing to ratchet up. It's not ratcheting down at all. In fact, we're talking about this dirty bomb, this false flag. We've seen, obviously, the 101st Airborne Division. That was a big story last week, being deployed. It seems like, I mean, now we're entering around 100,000 troops now are in the European theater, additional 5,000 with the 101st Airborne Division. It sounds like they absolutely want this to move into full World War III.
You know, and I'm not an expert, you know, military strategic person. I just logically see what's happening. You know, if Putin invades Ukraine like we did Iraq, it's game over for Ukraine. And now he has every right to, because you're doing terrorist attacks. My God, they assassinated Daria Dugin. Okay, this is Alexander Dugin's daughter. He's a philosopher. He's, you know, they say he's influential. People say he's not. That he's in Putin's ear. I don't know if that's true or not. But can you imagine, Clayton, if, let's just take Jordan Peterson. He's not American, but he's Canadian. Well-known philosopher. Can you imagine if Russia decided to assassinate his daughter, Mikhaila Peterson, because she said mean things on the internet? Can you imagine this? It would be condemned worldwide. But Daria Dugin, assassinated, car bomb, no one cares. Nord Stream pipeline, nobody cares. The bridge attack, nobody cares. This is literal terrorism. Assassinations, how do people not see that? Maybe they're on the wrong side here of the moral argument, you know? And this is war. It's nasty, but that's why Ukraine can't be winning, because they have to do these horrific techniques and strategies to get their way, including this possible use of a dirty bomb, which should tell you it's not the Russians, because Russia has real nukes. They don't need a dirty bomb. They'll just use a real one. Why would they need to construct a dirty bomb to you know what I mean? It makes, again, another narrative that makes no sense if you look at it.
Yeah, I mean, Nord Stream never, from the moment it happened, we all knew. The Crimea, you know, the Crimean Bridge, you know, there's another one. Oh, that's just Russia blowing up its own bridge. Okay, here we go. Now now Russia's placing a dirty bomb. Okay, I think anyone with a brain understands that. But of course, the Western media, when you have CNN wall-to-wall coverage, and you know, and people sit there and you know, they go to dinner parties and they say, yeah, can you believe what Putin's doing now? He just blew up his own pipe. He blew up this pipeline to try to get us into further war, and this is the stuff that gets parroted. You know, I know you're not a military strategist, but when these guys have to leave home and they're going to be now they're in theater or they're next to theater, basically, what's unfolding for these guys right now? Maybe the 101st Airborne Division, but maybe you can speak to some of the other groups that have now been positioned in place.
Yeah, unfortunately, these people, they're going to believe their narrative. I don't think any of these troops are going to go, you know what, I disagree with this, I'm going anyway. Maybe some of them have to do that, but for the most part, when I was in the Marine Corps, I believed the narrative 100%. So these guys coming in from the Airborne Division, these other troops on the ground, even the Ukrainians they believe they're fighting for their very existence. They're being told this. Russia's going to kill all of you. Putin's going to kill all of you, taking over all of Ukraine. That's what they truly believe. It's not like they don't believe it and go, I just want to kill Russians. Or maybe they do. I don't know if they're crazy. But all of these troops are doing their job. They're getting paid to do it. They're going to go. That's the tragedy again, but they're being lied to. So they're going to go fight. Like I mentioned earlier, even if it was false and all the things are lies, the moment you're in combat, it's not like, well, I was lied to, I can't shoot you. You know, you have to fight. One of you guys are going home in a body bag, unfortunately. So that's the tragedy of this whole thing. And we have to expose the lies so we prevent this from happening. You see what I mean? Because it's like they cross that line of no return. It's too late once they're in theater. So we have to prevent them from getting into theater. So we have Russia. If you look at Russia's side, they truly believe they're under attack. It's an existential threat because NATO wants... They're saying, and by the way, Washington's saying regime change. Washington's saying we got to break this whole thing down. It's not even like it's a conspiracy theory. They're saying it. We should get rid of Putin.
Senator Lindsey Graham has said it.
Right.
President Biden has said it, and then he had to walk it back. Adam Kinzinger has said it. So, yeah, you have a number of members. I think you even had Mitch McConnell talking about regime change. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you look at the Russian side, they're literally fighting for their existence. They truly believe they are. And you talk to the conscripts and people there, and they'll say, oh, look at these drunk people. They don't want to go to war. And some of them ran away. There's cowards in every military for sure, of course. But most people are for Putin has how high is his rating? Like 88% or some crazy number like that. When's the last time a president had anything above 30%?
Right. And I've spoken to sources who've told me that the recruitment centers, and they're Americans, and they say they live near some of these recruitment centers in Russia. They live in Russia, and they're telling me this, and saying they couldn't believe that there were lines out the door, people waiting to get in. And they couldn't believe, like the Western fake media, that these people are running across the border trying to get away, that they're trying to draft these people. And in fact, the opposite is true. They had to turn people away and shut the door because they had too many people, according to these sources in Russia and who are American sources on this.
And you look at our recruitment numbers, they're down, like below World War II levels, like very bad. Because what are we fighting for? What is America anyway at this point? I argue America's not even a country anymore. But aside from that, you look at the Russian side, they're fighting for their very existence. I believe that's true. And again, when has Putin said, we're going to get all of Ukraine, we're going to wipe them off the map, we're going to take all of Europe, we're going to assassinate Macron? And when has he said this? Nothing like that came out of his mouth. But from the West, we're seeing these crazy things. They're saying it. So the Russians believe it. I'm sure the Ukrainians believe they're fighting for their freedom. But I think they're going to realize, wait a minute, this is getting crazy now. This Zelensky character, I don't know what he's doing. So if anyone's going to get taken out by their people, I think it's going to be Zelensky before Putin, if it ever happens, if you ask me. Because the Europeans, even the Ukrainians, have to come to terms with, this is getting cold here. I don't have electricity. I can't eat. Everything's so much money now. And look, they did this terrorist attack on the ships, which were supplying grain protection for the grain. So why are they attacking these things that are keeping things normal? Why are the Ukrainians doing this? Because it's not really the Ukrainian people doing it. It's the MI6, it's the CIA. They're manipulating these people to do it. So I feel bad for the Ukrainians. And when you say things like that, you're still a Putin shill. You're still a fascist supporter and want to kill everyone. No, I care about the Ukrainian people. And my message was, the only way we stop this conflict is peace talks. And even if you don't like the peace talks, even if you want your 4 regions back, it's better to have 4 regions to argue about than no regions, right? And Putin has to take you all out. Because as J.J. Mersheimer has said, Putin's not going to let Ukraine just sit there and be pro-NATO and anti-Russia. It's just not going to happen. And you ask Americans, what if China put missiles in Mexico or Canada? You're going to let that happen? We have a Monroe Doctrine. It's not going to happen. No way. So why can't Russia protect themselves? You see? So Americans don't even understand this. The Westerners are like, well, who cares? They're evil. That's the media, again, with the double standards. So we have to have empathy for the Russians as well, Clayton. And we don't, because the media's like, he's evil, he's the next Hitler. Everyone's the next Hitler. Putin, Assad, Gaddafi, everyone's Saddam, everyone's Hitler. That's what the media does.
And when you look at NATO and the United States, how many invasions have we had since World War II for regime change? And we're bringing democracy. And of course, we've been covering the story in our show about Haiti and the imminent invasion of Haiti by the United States as well. So again, there's no bigger perpetrators. You mentioned Jeffrey Sachs. There's no bigger perpetrator of violence and unrest than the United States and NATO moving into these areas and destabilizing entire regions. So, it's people who live in glass houses throwing stones, right? Well, we need more voices like that and pushing for peace, and someone obviously who's seen what you've seen and seen the destruction and the death and the war that most people never get to see because we get a sanitized version of it in the Western media. We never get to see what you see, and they don't let us see what you see. So, Lucas, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. We really appreciate your perspective and sharing it with our audience. And hopefully all of you watching right now, you can share this video with someone who maybe is still in the dark, right? That's how we start to shine a light on these topics. Share it, push it out there to other people and help educate the world about this. So there's no reason for this war. There's no reason for any of these civilians to be killed. And that's what we're pushing for. So, Lucas, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Clayton. Thank you.